Turnbull government's facing its first voter backlash of 2017, when the New Year's public holiday isn't even over yet. Yesterday, an overhaul of the nation's pension scheme came into force, and now the value of assets you can own while keeping the fortnightly pension has been reduced. The cuts are an attempt to rein in the rampant cost of welfare. Pensions alone cost the government more than $40 billion a year. But with many older Australians walking a delicate tightrope on their finances, critics claim hundreds of thousands of people will be worse off. As Hayden Cooper reports, the government's adamant that only a small minority is affected.
January 1, 2017, a date the whole world was waiting for, but one that some Australian pensioners had been dreading.
We've just spent $7 million having fireworks when there are people that are living rough and living out on the streets. And we've got aged pensioners that are living on baked beans.
These pension changes, which started yesterday, will leave 326,000 retirees worse off.
The first day of the new year signalled the start of a new pension regime and a new world in which some are better off, others poorer.
Given the circumstances we're encountering, is it fair and reasonable that a couple can own a multi-million-dollar home and have more than $1 million in the bank or in superannuation and still get a part pension?
And I call the Treasurer.
This is where the changes began, the 2015 budget and a proposal to cut back on the cost of the pension.
We need to ensure the pension is sustainable and affordable.
If you're a pensioner, there are changes from the start of next year you need to know about.
In short, the overhaul targets the assets of pensioners. For a start, the threshold at which the assets test kicks in has been lifted to $250,000 for single homeowners and $375,000 for homeowner couples.
This means some of you may get more in your pension.
But here's the catch. Above those limits, the pension will now taper out at double the rate it used to, disappearing completely at $816,000 in assets for homeowner couples, down from almost $1.2 million, and $542,000 for single homeowners, down from $793,000. As before, the family home is not counted in the assets test. Non-homeowners will be hit by similar reductions in thresholds. Christine McFadyen's mother is set to lose. At 87, she lives in a nursing home and owns a house worth just under $500,000. Late last year, she received a letter from Centrelink with the bad news. Her pension would be cut from about $500 a fortnight to $178.
We've never hidden anything from the government, and to think that Mum has always been a Liberal voter and suddenly this is what Malcolm Turnbull and the Liberal Party are doing to her, who has done nothing but exist, when my mother has just got one asset worth less than $500,000 and she's been penalised.
It was a reduction the family hadn't banked on.
I haven't actually told Mum. She gets a little confused and she would get upset, so it's better for me not to mention it. We will just do our best to ensure that she stays where she is for as long as she can.
There are mixed opinions on these pension changes. The Council on the Ageing, for example, considers the overhaul the lesser of two evils.
These changes have much less of a negative impact than changing the indexation or other proposals that were on the table. No one wants to have a reduction in income, but we are talking about an impact on people with, in general, significantly above the average amount of assets that someone who goes on a pension has. We have been concerned that the atmospherics around this at the time that it's coming in, it's been announced for 18 months, the atmospherics have led a lot of ordinary pensioners who are nowhere near affected by this to believe their pension is going to be cut, and it's not. And people can disagree with the policy, but trying to scare pensioners into believing their pension is going to be cut is not something we've been very appreciative of.
Little things, big things grow.
The superannuation industry, on the other hand, is singing loudly. It's worried that pensioners will start reducing their assets and investments in order to stay under the thresholds.
Well, 1 in 3 people who retire this year will be affected by this change. Within 10 years, it'll be half of all retirees affected by this change. So people 55 years and older, a significant proportion of them will be worse off. What will happen? Well, people will either retire with less, people will either end up working longer, or of course what they might do is seek financial advice and find a way around these changes.
The point that the industry super funds miss is that superannuation money is there for people to draw down on in their retirement. It's not meant to be preserved perfectly forever.
Christian Porter is the minister in charge of selling the change.
Well, these changes mean that 90% of pensioners are either unaffected or better off. So 171,500 pensioners with more modest assets and lower ability to look after themselves in retirement, they find now that they're getting an increased pension. So this is a rebalancing exercise.
As the pension cutback flows through, Christine McFadyen isn't worried only for her mother, she's worried for her own future as well.
I'm a couple of years away from retirement myself, and I just feel that I don't trust the government at all, whatever government body's in place. I think that they can move the goalposts too easily, and they're affecting the easy targets, and my mother's an easy target. She's 87. And they're just taking everything away from her. So where we're trying to give her a decent ending to her life, they're trying to make that something else.
Hayden Cooper reporting.